So this week we're going to look at a pose called tabletop, or all fours to most of us, and that is known as a push-off pose or a lunge pose. From tabletop we can evolve to further poses and movements, and it's a great place to pause if we need to take stock, come down and rest if we find something quite intensive, and also to give us the chance to just catch our breath, which is always important. Tabletop, really simple, but a couple of principles that we always need to remember whenever we're going into it. So let's start. Whenever you're in tabletop, two important things are hands always underneath the wrist. This way we're not hyperextending the shoulder, we're not putting too much tension on the wrist and causing any further wrist injuries. And if we go back, we're not giving ourselves the strength, and the actual position will not be strong enough. So, hands underneath the wrists, and I want you to spread your fingers like stars. Gently grip the ground underneath you with your fingertips, and what that will do is that will push the palm of the hand away from the mat, preventing you getting from aches and pains around the thumb joints and the lower knuckles in all the fingers. So grip the fingertips very gently, but just so you know that the mat's there, and then look back at your knees. Your knees should be hip width apart, so we've got a nice, secure and standard foundation, but also they need to be directly under the hips. That way, again, we're not overreaching, hyperextending, and we're keeping our pelvis nice and level. So, tabletop, very simple. From this, we're going to move into several poses. All of them are warm-up poses, opening, and a good start to any flow or movement that you personally want to create, or just something that you want to try. So the first one we're going to look at is cat and cow. Cat and cow is two movements that go together. They flow with the breath, but they also flex the spine, and that's why they're used predominantly at the beginning of any kind of routine or movement, but also, again, another pause pose. If you've done a particularly intensive pose and you need to come out of it, just flexing the spine in this move will just release any tension and just aid any prevention of injury, which is vitally important. So looking at cat-cow, as we breathe in, we roll the lumbar up, dropping the chest and ribs down and curving the spine, sinking the chest, and as we follow that movement along the spine, the head will come up, opening the neck, and we will come up from the shoulders. And in this, as we breathe in, I want you to push the ground away with the hands and gently bring the traction of the hands to the knees, as if you feel that you're bringing them towards each other, and that will just allow you to open, in particular the core, and you'll feel a release in the centre of your body. So breathing in, and as we breathe out, we're going to drop the tailbone and roll the spine up in a big curve, lowering the head last, so we look like an angry cat. And as we do this move, we push into the ground with our hands and our knees, feeling an opening between the shoulders, along the middle part of the spine, and just allowing an extra release. A great one for in the morning if you're feeling stiff. And as you breathe in again, you continue that movement and flow along the spine. Imagine the breath goes along the spine as you're breathing in, and as you breathe out, it's repeating that flow. So picturing the breath going along the spine as you move, and then breathing out, flowing back. So that's cat-cow, something that you'll find, hopefully, a releasing and relaxing pose to move into, and can give quite a lot of expansion, particularly in the torso, and great for opening up and releasing tightness. So the next one we're going to look at is just a release pose, really, called hip circles. The name says it all, and a lot of poses in yoga may seem slightly embarrassing. If anybody walked in on you, they may make you feel nervous. You don't need to feel that. It's your personal practice. It's your choice of how you wish to open your body and create stretching and space and strength. So hip circles does exactly what it says. Circle the hips, you're creating space, looseness, moving a lot of junk that we get inside our joints. Sometimes you might hear your body clicking and popping, particularly toes or neck or back or knees. And these are actually bubbles of air that are created from moving our joints around. But also, the body is trying to remove and detox rubbish that we have inside our system as well. And these pops and clicks are a way of doing that. And hip circles, you may hear some clicking and popping too. Don't be worried. Pain is worrying. Popping and clicking, definitely not. So hip circles, self-explanatory really. So bringing the hips round, come back and over. So going from side to side, out on one side, coming back towards the heels and round to the other and coming back to your all fours. Move with your breath, taking a deep breath in as we roll round and breathing out so we come to the centre. And then when you've caught that and you feel that you're confident in that movement, try the opposite direction. Whenever we do a move that involves both sides of the body, we make sure we work both sides of the body, one after the other. This creates a balance, and balance is key. If you don't balance your body, you will feel slightly off kilter. Sometimes we may feel pain, not even know we're slightly off balance ourselves. We might know that we've got an illness, but not recognise how it's coming out in the body. And balance can be affected without even realising that. So once we've done the hip circles, we're going to look at the next part, which is just, we'll look at a more evolved version of this next time. We're going to look at plank. Might sound scary, and maybe you've seen plank competitions online where people have held it for 8 hours. That's not what we're talking about. Plank will give you strength, and it will create a sturdy foundation around the shoulders, allowing the arms to be strong, our tendons and joints to move in their right way, and keep our alignment and posture. So by practicing plank, it'll give you a bit of strength, keep your spine in alignment, and create strength in your legs too, all of which aids mobility and just keeps you functioning in the best way you possibly can. So I'm going to show you knees down plank, which may not look like any work at all until you put in a couple of points just for your safety and preventing any injury. So knees down plank, let's move into our all fours. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to move our knees back so we've got an acute angle. And by doing this, we will switch on the core. And that's where you're going to notice something's a little bit different. So keeping our wrists under our shoulders as normal, gripping our fingertips so we've got that bit of traction. And we're going to tip the pelvis, tuck the tailbone. Now the tailbone is the very end part of our spine. Some people know it's the coccyx. And you know if you cracked it because it hurts. So to tuck it means to keep the end of the spine safe. And we do this in the majority of practice of yoga to protect the spine, ultimately. So, tuck the tailbone, and you'll see that movement, just tucking it in, there. Don't want that sticking out area, you want it tucked in, keeping it safe, and when you do that, you'll feel that change in the core. So once we do that, gently lean into the pose, knees down, feet and shins flat to the mat. And by pushing them down, again the core will be activated further. and breathe into this, ensuring our hands are shoulder width apart. Making them wider means we've got a softer and unprotected shoulder and clavicle at the front. By making it too narrow, we are overextending the sides of the shoulders. That's why shoulder width apart is always best. And then just coming into this knees down plank, you will feel the activation and just breathe. It may not feel like a great deal, but it will prepare you for moving further in to full plank another time. So push yourself back, and then we're going to bring the knees forward and back in, and we're going to do the next pose called thread the needle. Thread the needle is another opening pose. It's going to release your shoulders. It's also going to give you a twist. So you will start recognising some of the poses that we're doing will incorporate one or two things at the same time. And that's why they're so beneficial. So to get everything right the first time or after practice is just key, so that you know your body's benefiting the best way because you're doing it the best way you can. So thread the needle. I'm going to face the opposite way so you see it properly. So, making sure we are all fours, knees under hips, hands under shoulders. And we're going to do exactly what the name suggests. We're going to thread. We're going to bring the right arm up, pushing into the left arm, making sure it's strong, but don't bend into the elbow. Just bend that elbow off a little bit. Don't keep it tight. Don't keep it over strengthened. It will create tension in the elbow and in the shoulder, causing injury. So just create a bend. Okay? Taking a breath in, we're going to bring the arm up and twist in ever so slightly, pushing to the knees to stop us from twisting over in the wrong direction. And then we're going to thread that right arm down to the floor. Key thing is here, if you can't quite reach or head to the ground, a cushion, a block is not the problem. We're opening the shoulder and twisting the torso. It's not about how the head lies as long as it's supported. So bring the arm underneath, bring the shoulder to the ground, and then tent the fingers of the left hand, and you'll find that that will just allow an extra stretch around the shoulder blade, and also help you feel space in the back where that stretch is occurring. Keeping the hand on tented fingers, make the bottom arm nice and flat, so you can always feel it pushing into the ground, giving you more space. And now think of the legs. There is a habit of twisting to one side, the legs coming together. Now be conscious of how the legs are. Are the shins both on the ground or as close to as they were? Make sure the pelvis is nice and straight. If you need to use a hand and check, place it on the sitting bone, on the sacrum, and feel, does it feel a little bit twisted? You will know. Correct that, bring your hand back down, and as you breathe, you will feel the body soften and start to relax into that stretch. Taking a breath in, we're going to unthread the right arm. Come back and now reposition yourself, making sure that everything is in its right space. And then we're going to repeat the other side. And I'm going to stay this way so you can see how it looks from the back. So we're going to swing the left arm up, pushing into the right hand to keep us grounded and give us a good foundation with the other parts of the body. And then we're going to thread it under, behind the wrist, dropping the shoulder down, and now tent the hand of the other arm. And you will then feel that opening, just on the shoulder and here around the back. Don't worry if you don't feel it. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means that you're stretchy enough. And now be conscious of the feet and the legs, making sure that they're all in alignment. Bring that hand back down, and then take your breath. If there is any pain or discomfort at all, come out. gently as you can, taking your time, and don't rush. I hope today has given you an extra few challenges and a few more choices into things that you can look at and try and start feeling some benefit from, even if it's once a week, once a day. Do what works for you, but enjoy whatever you do. Thank you very much. Have a good day.